Well, guys, I might just be washed. I don't know. This is obviously I took a risk here, a couple of risks, and it was not good. My last 3 events have been terrible. I've fallen off. I'm washed. Unsubscribe. I suck. No, don't unsubscribe, please. Please don't unsubscribe. We've still got time to come back. We've still got time. All right, guys. We're still number 8. You know, it's only 14 points to get back to number 2. We can just pretend that it never happened, okay? Yeah, let's do that. Let's look at Europe and pretend the Americas never happened. So I broadly agree with the round 1 matchups on Majors.im. There's a couple that could have upsets. For instance, FaZe Cloud9 or Soul Sinners. I could even see Fnatic showing up in these best of ones. I think as it progresses, though, it gets a little hazy. It overrates a couple of teams. For instance, BetBoom, I think are way overrated. I think like Cloud9 is underrated. So 3-0, 0-3, I agree with this. I think 3-1 is probably fairly accurate, but these ones in the middle, I disagree with. So instead, I have a confidence ranking. This isn't necessarily how good I think each of these teams are, but more how confident I am that they'll get through to the major. So S tier, 100%. One of Na'Vi or Vitality will most likely be 3-0 or even both. So I think they're both great teams to ground your draft in with 2 players. FaZe and Mouse will get through. It's just a matter of how clean it is, so there's still good choices. The B tier, I think that most of these teams will get to the major, but I wouldn't double up on any of these teams because I'm not 100% confident. C tier, very long shot. I think Gamer Legion maybe like C+ tier, but overall, very risky, and I think you could get 1 player here, but any more is a huge risk. And D tier, I just would not draft. So this is how I'm going to base which teams I think are good to draft from. So Na'Vi feel incredibly expensive because they are. I think the only player that I would advise against is maybe Imma, just because Bit and JL are basically the same price, and Wonderful's cheaper, so I understand why he's super popular. Flamesy feels like the better pick from Vitality for the same sort of pricing reasons, you know, only a little bit more than Mezzy and same amount less than Spinks, so feels like a nice middle ground. Mouse's pricing is all over the place. Jimmy had his career worst performance at Rio, so I wouldn't get him. Exertion feels like the safe player on this team, but is also incredibly expensive, but he's the one I'd advise to go. I think that Brokey is super interesting on FaZe. I know he hasn't had the best run of late, but for 208, that feels still very good for Brokey, and I think in this sort of environment, you're going to get a lot of value out of him for that. Especially when he's only a little bit more than Rain. For Saw, I think the most interesting player here is Agile. For 184, it's factoring his stats from Rhino still, which I think is why he's so cheap. But he performed as good as Story and Jerks at Challenger Katowice, so he really stands out to me as a great budget pick. Obviously, everyone wants Simple for 207. And honestly, he's the only player that feels like he's a good choice here. I would normally be quite interested in Dupree, but he has fallen off so hard in recent events. I mean, you could maybe bank on him having a resurgence for the major, but I'm shocked at what happened. What did they do to my boy? Hopefully he bounces back. For Sangul, the exciting players are still Xfard and Jota. I think grabbing one of those is a really cool draft because there's actually surprisingly not that many players around that 200k price point that are exciting. So I think both of those are cool choices. For Namiga, I've been a big fan of Khan when I've been playing, you know, the non-season games, the partner games. He's often been quite good. And he's an AWPer too, so some good roles. But I'm scared of getting cheap offers after what happened in the Americas. I don't rate BetBoom, as mentioned. They've had some good games of late, but my confidence rating is so low in them. But I guess MagnoJess is cheap, Sordo's cheap. I just don't think they're good value. I think that Blamef and Maddies are both quite good choices. Same with Nork. I think these 3 could be real sleeper picks. If you can make a draft with Blamef work, you know he's guaranteed to get you points. You know, this guy just gets points. So if Fnatic scrape through, which I think they could, he will perform in every single game they play. So something to think about. I think Gamer Legion's prices are a little bit too much for them. I guess Volt is very cheap, but I'm not sure if I love Gamer Legion here. I hope they do well. I like the team, but I don't have enough confidence to recommend any of these players. And then once we get down here, I don't think these teams get through, except for Cloud9. I think this is maybe one of the more interesting teams. They've obviously got a really poor world ranking, but I think part of that's just because they've not been playing a lot. But I think in terms of recent form and a few of the games we've seen, they are kind of interesting. And I think Axile, Heavy God, and Icy are all cool choices. It's just because they're price points, right? There's not many players around this price point with this sort of performance. You know, Axile is the same price as Apex and has, what, 0.2 rating, average higher, similar to Heavy God. Icy, really good AWP role activation and performed fantastic in the last RMRs. So I think Cloud9 are a real sleeper just to grab one player from. I wouldn't double up, but I think you grab one of these three, and you might be cooking with something. So not to be deterred by my failure in the Americas, I'm going to approach it with a similar strategy of a couple of favorites and then some risks to set them up. So I'm going to grab Bit from Na'Vi, and then I'm going to double up on Vitality. But the reason I get Bit is he's only a little bit more than Immer and JL. And I don't think he'll be picked very much. He has great activation and headshot machines. I just think he's better than those two. Flamesy and Apex are my choice from Vitality. I think that they're the obvious ones. A lot of people will be doing it. Apex is better than Alexi for this event because I think versus the lesser teams, he has more chance to farm with his roles and playstyle than Alexi does. To make up the budget, I do have to take some risks. So I'm going to be grabbing Icy. Again, I just think he's really good value with his roles and his recent performances. I think Cloud9 have an okay chance of getting through. So I don't hate it. Doesn't leave me with much money, but enough to grab Agile, who again, I thought performed so well at Katowice that for his price point, he felt like a no-brainer. That's going to be my team. I'm looking for redemption. So I've taken some risks. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm caught between having to play safe, but I also need to take some risks to catch up. So this is kind of trying to straddle that. Someone also asked how I make the roles appear automatically. It's just because I make the team first and then I go edit lineup when I'm doing the video so that when I click update team, it's already there. So that's what happens behind the curtain. Anyway, let me know how you went in the Americas. I'm very sorry if you listened to me about Phelps. That was not good advice. I get it wrong sometimes, but maybe this time I've got it right. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what your draft is looking like for Europe, and good luck.